Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. An XRP pair is being delisted by Bitstamp Exchange, which does have a presence in the United States. And so you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, didn't they already get rid of XRP over a year ago? The answer is actually yes. So I'll explain what's going on here. There was at least a minimal amount of confusion within the community being like, wait a minute, Bitstamp, XRP. Thought that already happened. Then there's also this, though. As a XRP pair is being delisted by a cryptocurrency exchange, Bitstamp, support for XRP is being added elsewhere in the world. Look at this from the Crypto Basic. London-based payment company adds support for XRP. So that's good stuff. And then there was also this article from Forbes titled, CFTC Commissioner Pushes Back Against Claims the Regulator Cannot Police Digital Markets. And so this has been interesting. Within the last couple of weeks, even Brad Garlinghouse was talking about the CFTC Commissioner in question, which I'll get to towards the later part of this video. But it's interesting because there is serious pushback. I mean, it's professional, it's tactful, but there's serious pushback now from one of the top people, a commissioner, at the CFTC, and also deriding the SEC for, frankly, it was really powerful reading this. I was like, whoa, and she's so right. But she was in an interview, and she was making the point that the SEC's lack of regulatory clarity is actually a national security risk for the United States, and she laid out her case, and I was like, yep. So it's not just XRP holders that are in trouble here, but this incredible, arrogant vanity play with Kim Jong-Ginsler and all the other cronies at the SEC, it's got potentially, I mean, it's something that potentially could harm and have much greater reach than we potentially regularly give it credit for. And I also got a couple opinions from an attorney within the XRP community on this. But before going any further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Okay, so into the first piece here from you today. XRP pair to be delisted by Bitstamp Exchange, which, again, is in the United States, just not exclusively in the United States. A cryptocurrency exchange, Bitstamp, has announced a slew of new delistings in a Thursday tweet. Starting from August 11th, the exchange's users will not be able to trade the XRP token against Paxos Standard, or PAX, a popular stablecoin that runs on top of the Ethereum network. In total, Bitstamp will halt support for 14 cryptocurrency pairs. Users will no longer be able to trade Bitcoin Cash against the pound sterling. The Link/ETH pair is also among notable delistings. Bitstamp, the largest European cryptocurrency exchange, didn't specify exactly why it decided to halt support for the aforementioned pairs. It should be noted that a trading pair delisting is a permanent decision. So there you go. Delisting is a permanent decision. So a few things here. Bitstamp is in the United States. They did get rid of XRP, but their HQ is actually over in Europe. So what actually happened here? Well, I don't think that even with this pair, I mean, again, there's no activity for XRP in the United States, but I don't think it necessarily means there's some sort of problem with XRP. If anything, it would mean that, no likelihood, my guess would be there'd be a problem with PAX, because XRP is one of the most liquid cryptocurrencies on the entire planet. And I still say no cryptocurrency is sufficiently liquid today, but as far as the pool goes, XRP is among the most liquid. But here you can see this was the official XRP sad news of it going off of the Bitstamp exchange. And so this was originally posted on Christmas. It wasn't a fun little Christmas miracle in 2020. Oh, really just pepped up the holidays, didn't it? Because remind you, it was December 22nd, 2020 when the SEC officially filed their legal suit against Ripple, claiming that XRP was an unregistered security. And then on Christmas, literally on Christmas, just 3 days later, Bitstamp said, yeah, by the way, we gons to get rid of XRP. But here's the headline, because words actually matter. And this is titled, XRP Trading and Deposits Halted. So note that while they did state that a delisting is permanent, the way that they're wording this is that XRP trading and deposits are simply being halted. It's not delisted. So for them, at least, the way that they're using the English language, it's sufficient to indicate that this is certainly something that's not permanent, which is what I think we've been speculating all along. Once this is all cleared up with the SEC, it's going to be back, and I think that's also the reason Bitstamp used the word halted instead of delisted. So no, when you see this pair go away again, it had nothing to do specifically with the United States, and I don't even think it really likely had anything to do with XRP. And then the good news, though, in the meantime, is that XRP is increasingly being adopted in other parts of the world. Again, from the Crypto Basic, London-based payment company adds support for XRP. Mercurio, a global payment network, is the latest fintech company to add support for XRP. According to a recent announcement, XRP was integrated into the Mercurio payments platform, enabling users to adopt the asset class in cross-border payments. And here's a quote. Mercurio has integrated XRP, end quote, the company tweeted recently. The popular payment provider also used the opportunity to highlight XRP's importance in cross-border payments, and they said the following. Ripple has made waves in the cross-border payments industry powered by XRP. The protocol is used by major banks to facilitate rapid, secure, plus cheap transactions. And if you go to their website, which I did because I wasn't familiar with them admittedly, but there's no shortage of fintechs, it was interesting happening on because the way that they're describing themselves, it's basically like they're a fintech company that's trying to have their hands in so many areas of finance. So not just as a newfangled thing that will give you on and on ramps with crypto, which they certainly do, including XRP now. So just strengthens XRP's reach to whatever degree here, but also in the world of legacy finance. So they seem to be like a forward-thinking new what you'd expect from a new fintech, right? They're just trying to string it all together, it looks like. So you can see it's beneficial for, this is so broad, look, exchanges, wallets, NFTs, DeFi, neobanks, dApps, e-commerce marketplace. It's kind of the type of language that you'd expect from a fintech here. But they get into banking, so it's like, to some degree, it's like traditional banking, but also crypto, pay in and pay out. They're trying to tie it all together. So, hey, cool. And look, and I've said this for a long time, even if you look at legacy financial system, they're going to be delving more and more into the crypto space, and that could include all this other stuff here. NFTs, DeFi, all this stuff. To some degree, they'll start to look like exchanges. Banks that allow buying and selling of cryptocurrency, yeah. So you're going to start to blur the lines between what company is actually what type of company. But it's just nice to see that in the face of an XRP pair being delisted, XRP is being increasingly adopted. And that's the story that we primarily see. Outside the stupid SEC action from over a year and a half ago now, what we generally see is things going in almost exclusively in one direction, a positive direction, where XRP increasingly is adopted and actually used in the real world, and additional use cases galore, frankly. One of the most recent ones, my favorite one this year so far, and I hope that this works. It's in production, though, as I reported recently. The Colombian government, they have a national land registry, and they were initially going to run that on Ethereum, but they clearly ran into some problems there, because that goes back to 2018. And they now this year launched the same functionality on the XRP ledger. So basically what they're doing is tokenizing actual land. And it's immutable. It's on the blockchain, right? So you don't have to question whether or not a document's accurate or this or that. And it also requires the usage of XRP. So it's cool stuff. So that impacts supply and demand to whatever. But I think it also, perhaps more importantly, provides confidence that XRP and the XRP ledger are here to stay because they're useful. So that's a direction we're actually continually going. And you may remember this headline from a couple weeks ago, from July 22nd from You Today. Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse takes aim at SEC's approach. And they shared a tweet in which he was talking about a new CFTC commissioner, Caroline Pham. And he wrote, he was referencing a speech that she made. And she's been a commissioner, by the way, since I think April of this year. But anyway, Brad Garlinghouse wrote, powerful words from Commissioner Pham. Quote, regulatory clarity comes from being out in the open, not in the dark, end quote. And then Brad said, unfortunately, the SEC seems more than content to operate in the latter. Now, she's continuing that message. There was an interview that was taking place yesterday, and they also transcribed this thing and put it up on Forbes. And so this piece is titled, CFTC Commissioner Pushes Back Against Claims the Regulator Cannot Police Digital Markets. Now, the whole interview, it's too long to cover in detail here because it's actually like 33 minutes. It's on YouTube if you want to check out the whole thing, and it is very interesting. So what I thought I'd do was just highlight the part where one of the parts where she's shredding the SEC. And then she went on after this, and it is too much cover for this video, but I just kind of want to get the point across. She talks about the degree to which the CFTC has tremendous jurisdictional abilities, if you will. my humble opinion, all right, from what I've seen, the CFTC hasn't been assertive enough, right? And so there's no shortage of blame to go around, right? So like you can blame the SEC for being the thugs that they are. You can blame Congress for not making it clear who should be doing what. You can blame the CFTC for, frankly, kind of being a little bit limp-wristed when it comes to this stuff because they are not remotely assertive. Like they seriously, like all those things can be true, and I think that they are. It's like, so what's the worst? You tell me. It's kind of subjective, frankly. I mean, some of this could have been prevented if Congress had just acted sooner, so you could say that. What's the worst? I don't know. It's pretty gross what the SEC's doing, so that's the worst that's happened, even though it all could have been prevented. And then there's the CFTC, probably the least of the three, least offensive of the three, and it's nice to see a newer commissioner coming in and pushing back against the SEC, frankly. And so Commissioner Pham stated the following. This is where she's digging into the SEC and saying, hey, this is actually potentially a national security issue. And she said, one of my first principles, and really almost a guiding North Star for me, is that when we are regulating and when people are trying to navigate regulated markets, it's so important that there be clear rules of the road. It stems from that you need to know what a product is and you need to know what the rules are that apply. If people are going to be putting in their hard capital investments, they're going to be dedicating their time and energy, harnessing American innovation, then it's incumbent upon us as regulators to make sure that there's a clear regulatory framework with clear rules of the road so that people can have the growth in compliant digital asset markets. I have found in all my various discussions during my learning tours and my demos, which I've had both in the private sector and in the public sector in my current role, of some of these really innovative token projects that people want to comply with. So pause, just think about that. Doesn't almost everyone in the crypto space wants to comply? You can always find the bad actors. Of course they're going to be out there. There's going to be bad acting humans everywhere in every aspect of humanity. Fine. But aren't most people, even if they have stupid business ideas and dumb ideas for tokens, aren't they at least trying to not break the law, don't you think? Because I sure as hell think that's the case. I don't think most people are just like looking out to break the law and just scam people. I sure as hell don't. Well, Ripple falls in this category. It couldn't be more clear that they've been doing nothing but seeking to comply, and still the SEC comes after them with a hammer. Anyway, Commissioner Pham continues. They are just wringing their hands saying, well, but what do we do? Nobody will tell us what we do. They're spending millions of dollars on attorneys, on consultants, and on lobbyists trying to figure out how to navigate this. There's a very serious concern that I found about national security and about American competitiveness. I think that's very compelling. I found it to be very sincere, and I think that's something we can't forget either. So let's pause to note, if you've ever wondered, is it we in the XRP community that are crazy, thinking that all these things that the SEC is doing that they're wrong, but the SEC keeps insisting they're not? Are we the ones taking crazy bills? Well, no. Even a commissioner, one of the top people at the CFTC, is saying, no, this is a serious problem. You do need this stuff. You do need to have this clarity. And instead, what do we see? Nothing, no shortage of participants in the crypto space saying, well, what do I do though? I'm an entrepreneur. What do I do? How do I navigate this? You know? Like, what do we do? And put more money into lawyers and lobbyists? Well, that's what they've been doing to this point because they've had no choice. And so then the Forbes interviewer said, I've heard it's a national imperative. It's important for our economic standing to remain at the forefront of innovation, but how does that fit into national security for you? And this was interesting too. I was kind of curious where she was going to go with this. It's like, national security and the SEC's at fault. Yes, please tell me more. And here's what she said. When you look at traditional schools of thought around geopolitical power, you have, of course, military power and you have economic power. You have the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. I think people are very concerned that if, because of these innovations and digital assets in particular, there really is a movement towards certain stablecoins, for example, payment stablecoins that are not clearly digital fiat because that would be a central bank digital currency, and they're also not tokenized commercial bank money. If there's ambiguity over regulation or what those stablecoins might be, people are really worried that there's going to be a movement away from the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. So let's pause right here. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think that's the US dollar, it's inevitable that it will not be the world reserve currency if it continues to be abused. And there's debased. I don't see anybody even proposing fixes that could possibly be implemented. But what she's saying here is that, look, there are other forms of money. So there are central bank digital currencies, which can be a representation, a new digital representation of the US dollar, which is actually already digital. If people say it's not digital, it's not true. It's in the, I mean, fine, there's physical form of United States dollars, but what I'm saying is it's already digital. It's just money typed into a ledger, and then it just suddenly exists, poof, and, from thin air, right? That's what the US dollar is. And so you can have a central bank digital currency that is a new representation of that. You could also have a bank coin, and a bank coin would just be a property that the bank owns, and it represents the underlying dollar. There's also that. But then there's this other category where there are stable coins, and who creates that? Well, they're a third party. Regulated by who, though? That's the question, right? Are they a bank then? Do they suddenly magically become a bank? Are the people running Tether a bank? Like, what is this? Like, who's even in charge of this right now? And it's actually a fair question here, but that's why it's extra scary that there isn't regulatory certainty surrounding this, because it's another aspect of the world of crypto. And so then Commissioner Pham continues. She says, this is a national security issue for the United States, as well as a monetary policy issue. That's just one example. But of course, if you have innovation, capital investment, and talent all moving offshore, that's something that people see as a concern as well. Pause. Ripple, she knows exactly what's going on here. The SEC has already put Ripple in a position where, should we get a bad judicial outcome if this thing's fully adjudicated, Ripple has stated they're just straight up leaving the United States. They're still going to exist. They're literally leaving the United States and will have no product working or people working in the United States. It's just gone. Right? That's it. They're out. Brad Garlinghouse has publicly stated that. That's the type of crap we're talking about. So there's a lot of, and that's just one company. And they're growing elsewhere. They've said that they want to hire hundreds of people in Canada, actually, recently, within the last couple weeks or so. All the innovation, all the hiring outside the United States then. Which I don't like to see, because I'm in the United States, and I want other areas on the planet, of course, to do well, but come on, this is my backyard, so you can understand, right? You want your home to do well. So it's just really sad to see that, having been a United States citizen my entire life. So anyway, she said, and I'll just repeat this last sentence. You've seen that with other sectors that have moved offshores that put the U.S. at a competitive disadvantage. It can be detrimental to our standing in the world. From COVID, you've seen some issues when we've got a lack of onshoring facilities. So these are really the things that people are thinking about and are concerned about. I think there are also concerns about what it means, again, from a geopolitical perspective, should another currency arise as the world's reserve currency, or if there's a non-state currency, so to speak, that becomes a world's reserve. That's another thing I think people are very concerned about. So look, here's the deal. I think it's inevitable if the dollar doesn't somehow get fixed by the government the way it's being treated. But setting aside what, as far as I'm concerned, that's a virtual certainty, right? Setting that aside, though, with the lack of clarity here, if you get additional adoption of crypto that has nothing to do with the United States, all you're doing is expediting that process. That's all that you're doing. You're giving yourself less time to even try and solve the problem. And again, I think that at some point the S word just hits the wall, and then it's going to fall apart. Because what happens when you get like a chain of nations? Like what happens when the first major nation just like ditches the dollar effectively, and then the next one does? And there are reasons that they don't, because if you're the first, the hammer could come down geopolitically from the United States. I get that too. But what if? Don't think that it can't happen, folks. That's all I'm saying here. Just because something hasn't happened before doesn't mean that it can't or won't. And the SEC is just screwing this all up. And then there was this from attorney Fred Rispoli. So he shared the Forbes article, and he wrote the following. He's a member of the XRP community, of course. He said, "I'm not excited about this kind of stuff. Yes, it's better than nothing, but only slightly better. Action is required." What action, you say? CFTC, Carolyn Pham, could file an amicus brief in SEC versus Ripple case and SEC versus Library, stating SEC is outside its jurisdiction. Then I'd be on board. Whew. Okay, yeah, I'll tell you what. I know what I hate, and I don't hate that. I definitely do not hate that. Now, is it going to happen? I doubt it. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised here, of course, but my gosh, I'd love to see it. And then he followed up by writing, "Talk is cheap. There are hundreds of companies, agencies, organizations, associations, etc. that could join John Deaton and request to file amicus briefs attacking SEC claims. They haven't. We'll see some in SEC v. Ripple as summary judgment gets closer. We'll be telling as to who. Yeah, we're still waiting on a bunch. Are we waiting for the Digital Chamber of Commerce? When are they going to jump in? I've been waiting for that one for a while. They've been saying for months and months that they're going to file something. I haven't seen it. It's not out there. I hope so. But for the CFTC to jump in now, that would truly be magical. That's throwing down the gauntlet, my friends. I just don't think it's going to happen. But it's good to see this. Like I'm pretty well on board with Attorney Rispoli on this. Like I'm glad that attention's being brought to this, but just people are just short on action. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.